when it comes to the squad, which has no relation to the U.S. Congresswoman, what you get is a movie focused on three girls who spend nearly the entire movie in their bikinis, or at best short shorts, who do high-level drug deals in a film that straddles between being corny and potentially intriguing, depending on what type of person you are. So, to summarize the film, three girls, all orphans, are in Oklahoma for spring break of all places. Gina, Bella, and Danny, under the guidance of a woman named Alpha, sell top-of-the-line cocaine during spring break and either work with or eliminate the local competition. Pretty much the way Alpha operates, they work just during spring break, 1 week a year, and from what it appears, they've been doing this for years, but through time, they've slowly begun to gain a reputation, and when it comes to Bella, she's starting to get to the point where she's tired of this, and she wants to begin seeking out some type of normalcy. But through their latest gig, they start attracting the attention of a cartel boss in New York, and with them messing up one of his income streams, he comes to the point of trying to figure out would it be better to just integrate the girls into his operation or eliminate them. To start off with this review, I must admit I was kind of surprised that this didn't end up being a sex sales kind of movie. For when it comes to Dina, Gina, and Bella, there is more to them than what can feel like a cheap sob story. For when you watch Bella try to negotiate, there's something to it that is kind of interesting, especially as she deals with people who are very much embedded into dealing drugs, distributing drugs, and just seeing someone like her in that situation, it creates an interesting dynamic. And I would even say for Danny, who sometimes tries to handle negotiations, seeing her in these potentially deadly situations where she's playing up her youth and looks in order to try to manipulate the situation also kind of makes it seem like this movie, as much as you can definitely see, some may believe that this is trying to exploit the young actresses, for truly they are mostly in this film in bikinis and at best, short shorts and still bikini tops, but it does seem like enough was done to present the argument that this is just as much about allowing these characters to be openly feminine while showing that their femininity doesn't have to always be a vulnerability or weakness, but it could also be something that's a tool that empowers them. So as for on-the-fence topics, the first one is that certain plot points when it comes to this movie feel like they should have been developed more, but unfortunately, this movie instead decides it wants to push a sequel. So in terms of trying to really establish who Alpha is, how she found the girls, why the girls were even in foster care, like why are they all orphans, things of that nature, which you're definitely going to be curious about, aren't really dived into. Never mind how Alpha got into the drug game, how she got so good at it that she was able to train these three girls to also be good quote-unquote saleswomen. Never mind how these ladies even survived potentially going from town to town, granted on a yearly basis, and really building up a reputation to the point where now a New York cartel knows who they are. To me, the lack of character development when it comes to that seems like a real missed opportunity to really shore up the idea that this isn't just about seeing attractive young women in bikinis. Which leads to the last on the fence topic, which honestly I'm kind of on the fence about in terms of saying it is on the fence or divisive versus it's just a low point, and that's the villains. To me, most of the villains were just not memorable or what I needed to counterbalance what many may see as negatives when it comes to this film. This gentleman named Frosty the Snowman, who's the head of the New York cartel, there's nothing remarkable about this man, whether it's his looks, what he says. And a part of me appreciates that he is an older gentleman, that it's not some young guy who's as attractive as the ladies, who's kind of like the counter to them, but I don't know. A part of me just wanted a true Fred, especially if it's supposed to be somebody who's coming from New York. In my mind, that means these three ladies, especially since we don't know what kind of training they have, and it's certainly not some military top level training. It's like a lot of action movies where they have these characters who may have some kind of training going for them, and yet somehow they're able to take down all these people without getting much of a scratch, not getting any bullet wounds, and it just doesn't make sense. And granted, it's not like the girls didn't have help from this somebody who could be on their side, could be using them. Hard to say sometimes until the end of the movie, but this is definitely the kind of film where you have to suspend your disbelief to a point where it won't mess up your experience watching the movie, but it will continue to leave certain questions in your mind and make you really pinpoint different ways where you see how this film could have really been better than what it ultimately is. Though, again, this film ends with it being very clear that there could be a sequel, so maybe this might be like the Terminator movie where the sequel is better than the first movie, but it's hard to say. Overall, when it comes to the Squad, there's definitely a strong element of sex sales when it comes to its marketing, but I'd submit that even though it doesn't fully tap into its potential beyond having attractive young women shoot up people who are mainly drug dealers while they're dealing drugs themselves, there is something there. Unfortunately, it seems that special something is being held off into a sequel, but who knows? Maybe the sequel may learn from what the first movie did well and just expand that and really kill it.